Hi everyone, it's Lavender Sky Panther with you on a Friday, September 8th, 2023, for a little card reading today, done just with a fun and loving spirit. That's the energies behind all of this when I drew the cards. And there seems to be an overall theme, just looking at the overall, all three groups that are going to be there today, of giving and receiving, falling and rising. Also something to do with like the right hand giving, the left receiving, or representing the right side for the masculine, the left for the feminine, with the masculine having a lot of representations with the swords or the wands or sticks, and the feminine is the cups and the chalices or the cupping of the hands. Also, general theme too is going to be the ring, and if you divide it in four, it would be spring, summer, fall, and winter. And if you stand in the center of that ring, which season are you going to choose? Which way you're going to reach for, and for how long are you going to be in that particular phase, right, as we move through all the cycle of all of it. I'm just mentioning that up front in case I don't do that in each group. Now, as I always say, you can pick one particular group, but I tend to jump across all three groups anyway, or however many there are. I usually jump across the board and cross-reference things if I feel so guided. So keep that in mind. You might want to stick around for the whole thing if that appeals to you. Anyway, otherwise, go ahead and pick either group 1 is going to be the orange cup, group 2 is going to be the green one, group 3 is going to be the blue one, and as I mentioned, you can also just jump all over the place with me if you care to do so. All right, so let's get into this and see what comes out. Now, if I didn't mention already, actually before I even get there, before even recording this, I had to do it several times because I'm pretty sleepy right now and my mouth just wouldn't move and get the words out. So I had many takes, and it just reminded me of the word mistake, how we put so much energy and heaviness behind the word mistake. Oh, I made a mistake. Well, if you break that down, it's just a mistake. Like I just had to do several mistakes. They weren't quite the right one. But what did I do? I just kept going and going and taking as many as I needed until I feel like my mouth is moving correctly. And so really, why make that heavy? It's just no, let's just do it a bunch of times and one of them's going to work, right? So that might be a message for one of you. Just like in the old days before all the digital cameras, people were very conservative about how many photos they took because it took a lot of expense and time to develop them in the lab with the chemicals and all of that. Nowadays, with digital cameras, what do? Just snap away, take, delete whenever we don't want them. So that might be a message again for some of you. If you feel like stuck in the mud, you feel like you're burdening yourself, like, oh, with the shoulda, wouldas, couldas, and, oh, that was a mistake. Just let it go, make it light, play with it, and just say like, well, hey, that's not fixed in stone. I can just keep taking more takes. What's the big deal, right? So you might want to get into that energy if you're in the opposite today. All right, so let's move into group 1. I'm going to actually clear the table of these other things because we are going to just fluidly probably cross-reference all three piles. And in fact, I'm going to just give you a little preview of where we're headed for all of them, okay? But here we go. Group 1, you have Unity, number 5, and we have this. This is from the Fairy Tarot cards, and I'll put all the cards, I'll list them in the description box below what they are. So we have do the right thing for the right reason. Compare traditional versus new approaches to see what works for you. To see which works for you. A spiritually minded community. Okay. And actually, I'm going to show you all your cards, and then we'll go back into the individual and overall meanings. Okay. Then we have, I'm going to have to prop this up probably. Then we have the Six of Pentacles, and here we have a group, a gentleman dropping coins down on some seeming impoverished children. Okay. But going back to my intro, the overall message of this overall spread is going to be giving, receiving, falling, and rising. So if you look at this not as a well-to-do gentleman, kind of just tossing coins at some poor children, that's not what this card is about. We need to look at it, at least in this reading. We need to look at it in this reading as far as seasons. So the man is representing the allegory of spring. He is springing up. He's more mature. He's grown. He kind of reminds me of the Jolly Green Giant here, right? He's happy. He's smiling. He's beaming out the spirit of spring. Now, and the innocence, the purity of like that first stem pushing up through the winter blanket of snow, even has a little alluding to the snow blanket right around his neck, that his head is kind of like the flower popping up with a feather on it, through the blanket of snow. And he's happy because he's got that purity and that childlike innocence of being born for the first time, right? Now, the children in their garb, it's kind of drab, and not drab, fall has beautiful colors, but it's the colors of fall heading into winter. So, the rust color and all of that, and the presumed little boy's outfit is, heading toward autumn, fall, excuse me. And the girl has kind of like the gray, silver blue gray, and the little boy does in the pants too. So it's like fall heading into winter. So obviously on the opposite spectrum of this man, where they're literally kind of catching the falling leaves because they are fall, and that's in their nature, is to know about receiving, kind of falling to the ground. They're not pushing up through that snow blanket like this guy is. So he's representing the giving, right? So that's just kind of what I'm getting out of it. In the end, or in the beginning, depending on how you want to look at it, like I mentioned in the intro, if you're standing in the middle of a circle and all around you on that circle is divided in four of the seasons, which one are you grabbing for, which one are you a part of, and how long are you going to stay in there? And know that you're a part of all of them. We're all of the seasons at any day, in a given day, like on the hour of the hands of a clock moving around, or in a lifetime. You hear the phrase, in the winter of your life. Where are you at the beginning, in the spring of your life? Anyway, all these thoughts are just coming from this card. So I'd look at this as the allegory of the giving, and the receiving is, the fall and the spring. And in this case, everybody is abundant because they're standing underneath the arc of all of those pentacles and smiling and happy and enjoying the reciprocity that comes with knowing that there's a season for everything, and that we embody all of them. And there's going to be times to give, times to receive, and keep that flow going on that circle of life and that cycle of life. Okay, so 6 might have a meaning for somebody out there as well. And actually, there are numbers I always often reference. I'm going to come back out so you can see all the pictures for a minute while I explain this. Like I always said, and this applies to all of the groups, go check out Joanne's Sacred Scribes, Angel Numbers. It's an Australian blog site that goes into detail on the symbols, representations, and meanings behind the numbers, the positive aspects of the numbers. So you might want to go there and check out number 6. All right, let's get back to our group number 1. Now, again, we're looking at this as, in this case, this has a very spring feel to it with the pinks and greens and, more in keeping like this gentleman here that's giving, right? And in here, it's still the giving theme because we've got a lot of abundance popping up all over the place here. Look at this just burgeoning life. The more you look, the more you see everything ready to burst open and give and give and give and give. And so here, this is called Baronia, if I said that correctly. And it's clarity, okay? So a lot of times we get a lot of clarity in the giving. We can get clarity also in receiving, but there's more focus behind the giving action sometimes. So you really got to focus. You got to kind of put all of your attention to where are you going to give. And usually it's very directional. True, you could have a whole bag of coins in your hands, take all the coins out and just imagine them all running through your fingers. And you've got them in there like there's so many you can hardly hold them all. And you could like throw up your hands in the air and have all those coins spread out in a million directions and rain down. That's kind of what this reminds me of. And this gentleman just kind of, dropping them down. But you can also give in a very directional way and just, one by one hand, a coin out, so to speak, to somebody, or just point to one person you're going to give something to. Either way, that giving action, is focusing an energy either outward is still a direction, or, focus it down in at a point at something is also the giving. Now, what's interesting is in the receiving. The reason why I say there might be a little more clarity when you start to give, and that translates to taking some action of some kind. So that might be a message for you, that if you're kind of sitting on the fence or just feeling kind of blah, to get something going, you might want to give. So maybe you're just like giving water to a flower, just like dropping it in by drips, or taking a full cup and spreading it out on a bigger grassy area, whatever the case, or taking out a hose and spraying it. Even when you take a hose, you can just let by gravity the water fall down, and with a little bit of pressure too from whatever it's coming from the pump. But also you can put your thumb over, the end of that nozzle if it's open, and just let it spray out, right? So there's many different ways to focus your energy. And I don't know why I'm spending so much time on that, but it just brings me back to, the idea of clarity. You start to focus when you start to take an action, and when you connect, especially your hand or your arm behind it, like picking up a hose or dropping coins. That action somehow alchemically works between the brain and the arm and the action and the spirit. It somehow all connects together to help bring in clarity and focus. And whatever you're focusing on tends to bring about certain things. So you're not in a stalemate anymore, just kind of sitting on a fence or not sure what to do. So take even a simple action of watering a flower is my point, or a plant, or dropping a coin somewhere, thinking about where you want to do it, and go out and do it and do it. All right, so we're going to look at Baronia, pretty sure that's how you say it, in this book, for the companion guidebook to this beautiful cards. Again, I'll put the description in the description box below, what cards I'm using, what decks, and who the author and illustrator are. And that's another message in general for everyone. Whenever you're citing authors and things with books, if they're illustrations, be sure, please, kindly, to mention the illustrator or artist as well, because especially with these decks, you can't have one without the other. Again, with the giving and receiving, I can't imagine just a deck with only the descriptions or just the pictures, and they're just so much stronger when you've got both of them together, and they really are come as a unit. You can't have one without the other. So when referencing them, I see it's a trend, I don't know why, by some of these publishers to only put the author on the cover, and you got to really hunt for the illustrator or artist. No, they should be equal billing, none, one greater than the other in these things. Okay, so we're going to come to the book, and normally I show the book, but it jumps in and out of focus, so I'm going to read it off camera, but you can maybe focus here on the beautiful illustration. Okay, so the Baronia for clarity, and this is coming from, it's talking about Australian wildflowers, okay? So I'm just going to read a little excerpt here, and let's see what's interesting. I mean, they're all interesting and beautiful, but I'll just read the beginning. We'll see how far I get. The appearance of Baronia usually means that clarity is being shown to you in an area. If things have been a little difficult to understand, then you can look towards them, becoming clearer now. Baronia also asks you to be clear in your communications and in your thinking. Creative visualizations and meditations are indicated as a way to assist you right now. It is time to release negative thought patterns which are hindering your path. The challenge of Baronia is in obsessive thinking, in wishful, unproductive pipe dreaming, and in not mentally letting go of emotional issues. Anxiety and worry are also indicated as blocks when Baronia appears to be prepared. So be prepared to work on those. As a healer, Baronia assists in bringing clarity to the mind. It brings about a calm and serene balance to thoughts, and so it's excellent for those suffering anxiety. Okay, now what comes to my mind in hearing that, as I read it myself, is clarity. Driving back home, the message down here of clarity. And I just want to mention too, since we're talking about plants, botanicals, plant medicines here, I do know there is a tea out there, and I don't want to promote a certain brand, but there is one that's called For Clarity and Calm, and it's ashwagandha. So you might want to look into that, or drinking any other tea that helps with that, if that's what you need right now. Okay, so we're going to continue on, and I did have a place marker, for reading this, and I had just randomly grabbed another card, and so you get a little bonus card, and this one is called Blue Gum Flower in Healing. So we just talked about what might be healing, and also, giving clarity with some of those teas like the ashwagandha. But anyway, I'm going to leave this to you to look up on your own time and see if there are any messages in there for you, and also look up the healing properties of blue gum flower, and the color blue may mean something to you. All right, so now we're going to move one more card here, and close out your group number 1 is this is a bonus card, and it says calling in your soulmate. Okay. Your prayers, affirmations, and visualizations help bring you together. Now, what I really love about this card is the more you look at anything, like I say, my sky observation shows, the more you're going to find, the more you're going to see. So what I love here is the melding of the two figures. So we have, look at, when you look, her arms going up could be the man's arms, and, or his arms can be going down, or hers can be going down. So, but when her arms are up, it just really, to me, shows the perfect fusion and unity of the two figures, which actually, before I end this group 1 reading, I forgot I need to jump back over to unity. So that's a powerful theme here with this card. So even though they are two distinct figures, they are also one. And his wings actually could be her wings if you look at it, and he's just in between somehow. So again, I love this kind of graphically optical illusion, of melding the two figures into one. Now, once again, her arms are up, her hands are up like the cup of the receiving. His arms are down in the position of more directional, like he himself is the sword or the wand or the stick. And so we've got the representation of the masculine and feminine, but both combine to form the one. And we each have aspects. Obviously, a woman has both masculine and feminine aspects, as a man does have masculine and feminine aspects. That's just how it works. So anyway, that's just that little thing. So calling in your soulmate, I venture to say, what I'd like to say here is that, yes, they're saying you can pray, you can affirm, and you can do visualizations. I don't think you need to even do any of that, though. I think all you need to do is just close your eyes and make your little heart swish, an honest swish between you and God, or, the spirit, the great spirit, whatever, of the higher power of your inner standing. And just in one instant moment, you just say, okay, yes, I would love a partner. I would love to have that one that helps make me feel even more one with all that is. And you can just say, yes, I would like one, just one. And then that's it. And then you cast out that wish, you make that heart's desire known, and that's all you have to do. And then you just have to be patient and know that, well, it could come right away or it's going to come later. But whatever the case, just forget about it, let it go. You made that wish, you made your vote known to God, and then let that go. All right? And then be ready to receive when it does come, right? Okay, now we're going to go back to unity up here. In unity, we have these little fairy folk, right, and sitting in the forest. And once again, it talks about do the right thing for the right reason, compare traditional versus new approaches to see which works for you, a spiritually minded community. So, of course, any good and balanced community involves everybody from young to old. And again, we're talking about that circle and that cycle of the seasons, that we have older, they represent, they call it the winter of your life. In spring, it's just like the beginning, the budding and the blooming of like the baby portion of your life. And it forms a ring, a beautiful, like there's even the things called fairy rings, if you look that up. The Rosenkranz in Germany, Rosenkranz is the little daisy chain that little fairy children might wear on their head. And it's all about the circle and the cycles of life. So we need all of it. We need the young and the old, we need things that are, falling like the fall and budding up like the spring. So here we have the representation of all of it, all the different colors. On the right side, we have the pinks and the yellows. And on the left, we have more of the earth tones, blending back in with the earth. What I like about this card is that we are talking about little fairy folks. So the birds, even this, I think that's a grasshopper or something down there, or a cricket or something. Everything is like about the same size. So it's a level playing field. It's not like the humans are dominating over, animal life. Everybody's on the same playing field, so to speak, in this game of life. And I love how, with the kids, it's all about, look at the wings and the colors. It's about flights of fancy and beautiful rainbow colored imagination, right? Vibrant. And then we get to the old, more like sage fairy folk person. Everything is like already returning to the earth with the, kind of like dried leaves, but such a wisdom in those leaves, like tobacco and sage, when they're burned, connects into other worlds and ancestral spirits and things that help inform us as well here on this plane. Now, there seems to be a little bit of a divide between the two. I don't want to call them sides, but look at the directions where everybody's looking. You know, the little girl might be on the left, on the right hand side, might be looking to the wise, wiser, we'll just say the wiser old man there, or she could be looking down somewhere else. The kid too, I'm not sure if he's looking at the man or if he's looking at the insect. The bird is looking off past the man at something in the forest. The man's looking over maybe at the kid, and the crickets maybe looking over at the boy, or he's looking at the next lunch, the leaves, I'm not sure. So anyway, but because of where they are looking and putting their energy, they are connecting as well. Okay, I think that's all I want to say for this group 1. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. And now we're going to move on, if I can get this seated right, to group number 2. All right, let me just leave that. All right, group 2, here you go. 9 of Spring. You have a beautiful card. Protect the fruits of your labors. Prepare for possible challenges that lie ahead. Environmental conservation. Okay. I'm going to look at all the cards before we go over them individually. All right, then you have number 1, the Magician. And this is quite a depiction of the Magician. You can feel the power radiating out there with the infinity symbol out to the cosmos. Okay, and then she's got also the chalice and a sword, a wand, or staff. And man, she's got quite a God spark or divine force emanating up out of her, right? As she's throwing her hands up, though, to receive. So it's a reciprocity, a reciprocal relationship. So she's beaming out power to the cosmos, or intentions, or whatever you want to look at it. But she's also receiving. When you make that victory sign, throwing your hands up and make that V, it's also channeling everything down to a point. So which way do you want to read this? Or do you want to read it as things moving up and down, right? Because even though she's throwing her hands up, I do still feel that she's very much receiving at the same time. And it doesn't need to be one or the other. She can be doing both at the same time. All right. So anyway, we've got the representation of the masculine, the feminine, with the chalice, with the swords and the wands and the staff. And also she's throwing up her hands, forming that cup shape to channel down and receive. Okay? We're going to keep moving along. Let's move down before I get to the extra card. Sorry about the camera work here today. I'm a little slow. I am sleepy. I mentioned it in the beginning, so bear with me. All right, now you're getting this, which is really beautiful, and it's called Sydney Rock Rose Acceptance. And it's funny because this does remind me of the lotus, even though I know it's not depicting that. But just the way this card is, it kind of reminds me of that. And I talked about that in detail in the last reading, if you want to go check that out. So we are going to go to the book. And give me 1 second, bear with me. We're going to read a little bit about this Sydney Rock Rose, because I don't know anything about it, except for looking this up now. And that might be a message for somebody out there if you're working with poetry or writing. The notion of alliteration, so rock rose. And who knows, you might be naming a child and something in there works for you. Actually, any one of those names or a nickname. Also, if you're naming a company or trying to come up with a name for something, a website or a YouTube channel, who knows, maybe something's in there, if not one of those specific words. Perhaps just, the idea of alliteration. Okay? All right, so we're looking at Sydney Rock Rose Acceptance. So I'm going to read off camera, just because when I try to focus on the book, my camera goes in and out of focus. And like that, my eyes, because I mentioned I am a little sleepy doing this, my eyes aren't quite in focus, so bear with me if I miss something, misread it. So here we go. Let me just see. Okay, I'm just going to read a little bit from it. You are from the companion book to this deck. You are loved. The appearance of this flower affirms that you are loved, needed, and appreciated, even if you fail to see it right now. Sydney Rock Rose energy is connected with acceptance in all its forms. It asks for patience. It reveals that though you may not be able to change things, you most certainly can gain strength in realizing that you are not alone, and now would be a good time to ask for help or to share assistance with others. Speak from your heart. Talk and open dialogue now. even if it has failed before, will begin the process of healing. The challenges are feeling left out and accepting that you may in fact need to move on alone. As a healer, Sydney Rock Rose heals broken hearts and combats shyness. Okay, so maybe there's a message in there for you on that. And I'm not going to belabor this card too much, but as a placeholder, I was bookmarking some of these, flowers because I'm not familiar with them from the Australian, from Australia. So here's another one. You have a bonus, and this one is called Lantern Bush Challenge. So we just read what the challenge might be. So that focuses back on, okay, you might have to accept with acceptance that you might have to move forward alone for a bit. Well, first of all, as I know it's a little bit of a cliche at this point, but no, we never are truly alone. It's just our feeling that we might be in a temporary state of being. However, of course, we all know the feeling, I'm sure, of loneliness or feeling alone or aloneness. And in that case, I would just say, yeah, okay. I hate the phrase, but it's kind of funny and I'm moved to say it. Suck it up, Buttercup. This kind of reminds me of Buttercups. Suck it up, Buttercup, and move forward. Suck it up. Sometimes there are times we're just going to walk a bit alone. And that's okay. We don't always need somebody holding our hand or to hold somebody else's hand. How can you fly if you're tethered down to a stick with a rope? Come on. So be ready to fly. And in doing that, yeah, it can be a lonely job. It can be, that inside job, they say, is working on yourself. It's not even working on yourself. I just want to say it's just experiencing by yourself. So when you do walk forward alone, then yeah, you've got to look at everything with a different point of view than if you're two, with something or someone else. That also applies if you've had children and now you have like that empty nest syndrome, they call it. Say your child has left and moved on to school or moved on to be on their own, they've come of age. Now suddenly, yeah, you're going to be, and if you're a single parent, now you're suddenly like this, or maybe you're not a single parent, but now you're just feeling like this because yes, that one has, been your whole world. Well, now it's time to suck it up, Buttercup, and make that walk a little bit alone. But in that journey, you're going to discover so much more, which enriches you. And then when you communicate with your other one later, you're going to be much richer for it and have more things to impart and perhaps even teach or be of guidance to your younger one. So it all makes sense in a way. Anyway, let's go to one more thing about the Sydney Rock Rose. Apparently, what I didn't read is it does need other rocks, or not need, but there are other rocks that tend to be around it. So kind of, I think, grows near or in amongst the rocks, supposedly because those rocks provide minerals and things that it needs. And so it has a beautiful kind of symbiotic relationship. I'm not sure what they give back to the rock. I'm sure there's something, and on a microscopic level, but or the roots maybe underneath provide something for it. And if you think about it, the rocks seemingly maybe provide a structure and strength for these, but at the same time, maybe the roots below offer a little bit of cushion and support for the rocks in a certain way and soften its world. Anyhow, it's all about reciprocity, giving and receiving, and I'm going to move on. Okay. Okay. Oh, and as far as the lantern bush with the challenge, I invite you to look up properties on your own time. Check out what that flower is and what its medicinal properties are and healing properties. That might be a message alone for you today. Okay. In addition to looking it up for the Sydney Rock Rose. Okay. All right. So now going back to this card before we close out group 2. Protect the fruits of your labors. Prepare for possible challenges that lie ahead. Environmental conservation. So right away, it's looking and it's saying, prepare for possible challenges that lie ahead. Okay, so clearly she's doing that. She's looking out ahead, right? But what I'm getting is don't look so far ahead and be so concerned and enveloped with that. And kind of that even implies maybe a little bit of a caution or fear-based stuff. Don't look so far out that, right in front of her, some literal red flags. I mean, they're beautiful and there's a symbiotic relationship. And with the Conservancy, the Nature Conservancy, obviously She's trying to look out and protect, and then, the flowers offer a protective environment for insects and other things as well. The insects offer things, back to either the plants, or they help take care of other insects that might destroy those plants. There's a whole lot going on. But the point is, don't look so far ahead and feel so in control of the future that you're missing some red flags that need to be dealt with, like in the now. So maybe go ahead and really look at those things first and then look out. So it's also always a reminder too, to not look, what do I want to say? Not be, so zoomed out and out of touch with the now, but also don't be too absorbed in the now that you don't see what's going on in the bigger picture. So it's about keeping in touch with the now, and also keeping in touch with the overall picture, the much bigger picture, which goes even outside of these little daffodils or paper whites or whatever those are, right? Because there's a much bigger forest up above those, even though these seem like really important and looming. And right now in her world, look at, there's a whole nother forest out there, beyond this little microcosm. All right, so don't get too lost in your own little world. Remember, there's a much bigger picture going on out there. And I can't help to kind of already skip to group 3. We're going to get there. But look how interrelated these are. This is like the, one version of the same, person. If I can, I can't get my hand over here. But anyway, the same. I need my little pointer stick. Okay, so these two figures seem like maybe different aspects of the same person or fairy. So, but there's a very different meaning coming up in the next card, which we'll get to. Okay, now we will take a look. I think I'm missing, hang on, I don't know what happened to your card. Group 2, give me a second. Oh, it got pushed over here. You had one more card here. This one. All right, so one more card for you. Stay optimistic about your love life. And we have this beautiful image, looks like an Italianate palace, villa, and she is presenting, looks like a altar to Cupid. Take from that what you will. But anyway, she's got like a grouping of flowers that looks like it's in a ring to me. Got the ring imagery too, with the bands wrapped around her ribbons around her, or scarf-like thing around her hair, forming that circle. So, and there's actually a wreath here, sitting right here at the feet of this little presumed Cupid statue, golden Cupid statue. So stay optimistic about your love life. So again, when I talked about the opening of this reading, it's all about like giving and receiving imagery, masculine and feminine, and also the unity and the all of, everyone being in the center of that circle, a part of the one thing, and just depending on what season you're grabbing out for. So in this case, she's literally grabbing out for spring. And, with the notion of love, it's no accident that however you want to look at it, once you know about what the saints are all about, I'm not so into that, but, Valentine's Day, Saint Valentine, all of that. You forget the shady, truths coming out about all of that, but just the more innocent representation of being a day of love. Let's just look at it that way. So she's offering it up and saying, yes, I am offering this because I want to give love, but look at her arms are outstretched. She also wants to receive it, because that presumed ring of flowers is also making a whole, like something ready to receive, like a cup. So in this one action, one swift motion, she is giving and receiving, and full intent and focus on having love, receiving love, giving love. And I would say definitely a positive thinking, because she's got these beautiful flowers she's offering up. So positive thinking and faith will bring you romance. Now, she does look steadfast and very confident that by doing this, she will receive love. Well, yes and no, right? So positive thinking and faith, yeah, it can bring you romance, but think about, it could come in any number of forms, okay? It might come, yes, in her absolute, if she's looking for a match, her one person, or a person that she wants to call her person, or the one. But it also could come in the form of many other things. It could come in the form of a pet. It could come in the form of just suddenly in her garden, in her world, there's just an abundance of different animals that come to her, like hummingbirds or different kinds of things that she might not normally see. And so we just have to be open for love to come in its many forms. And yes, the one may come and you have faith in that. That's great with a positive thinking. But we also have to be prepared that we might be the one, right? It's like we're the ones we're waiting for. Some of the Hopi elders talk about on a much bigger picture type scale prophecy they're talking about. But it also applies to the individual one of us. We are the one. When we show up for ourselves, there's no need to give something to an outside source to say, hey, help me out. This is what I want. It's just a matter of being, it's kind of like group one. We already talked about it. Let me pull up that card. It's just getting the clarity within ourselves. And then once we're clear on something and make our little hearts wish to God, so to speak, or like I said, the higher power of your inner standing, whatever you think is bigger than you that you look to, or the all of the universe, whatever it is, the source, the light, the greatest power, most beautiful power that flows through all of us. It's just kind of getting clear and saying, okay, this is what I want. And in that one instant, not what I want, but just say, this is what I see in my life, as being positive and working well and being harmonious for me. Then you just say, yeah, okay, I would like to have this, yes, in my life, made manifest. I want it to be a person. And you already know my heart's everything. So my heart's wishes and what the most harmonious person would be for me. So I put it out there. She's literally like putting it out there, and then you just let it go and see what comes in. And again, it may come in the form of many things that are filled with love or that person, and don't sweat it. Just see what comes in, right? You put it out there, something will come in. All right, now we're going to move on to group 3. 8 of Spring. We have this beautiful card. Okay, stress that comes from having many things happening at once, successful multitasking, sudden events or changes. Now, if you're just joining me here on group 3, you might want to look at group 2, because look at this pairing. If you already watched, from group 2 and you're skipping over to group 3, I'm going to just repeat this a second. Bears repeating. To me, this looks like the same figure, just at different stages or in different moments of something. And so in this one, she's more cautious, trying to look ahead, might be missing some red flags right in front of her, so it's like, she's so concerned with looking at the bigger picture, she's missing the here and now. And like I said in the other reading, you don't want to do that too much, but at the same time, you don't want to only be focusing on the now, because there is a bigger picture around you, right? So here, it's funny because these flowers now translate into these different types of flowers, and these almost seem like sparklers, like on like electric, like lit up. And so anyway, there is a relationship. You might want to check out group 2. So back to group 3. Okay. So here she's reaching up. I gotta get my little pointer again. In the background, we have some of these dandelions. I was trying to find the word dandelions. In German, it's Pusteblume, I think. And so like blowing flower. And dandelions are in the front, and we've got daisy in the back. Okay, and that I'm just pointing the daisy out because it pops up in another card. So daisies might mean something for you. Also, here, I'll jump ahead because they're in this woman's hat here. See all the daisies? And so this might be a little message to get some pure flowers that haven't been dyed and throw them in a bathtub and do like a little, I don't like the word ritual, but like a little spring ceremony. I don't care what time of or what season it is for you, wherever you are in the world. It doesn't have to be fall, spring, summer, winter, but just to get that spring feeling, maybe a little bit of purity if you want, and you want to feel more clean and clear, use a white flower, maybe daisy, mums, whatever you can get your hands on and throw in there that feels good to you, even a white roses, whatever, petals, or you can also use herbs and things, essential oils, whatever works for you, but whatever also doesn't cause you any allergic reactions, make sure first. But the idea is taking something from nature and throwing it in there just to put your intention that you are, ready for that kind of energy to be brought into your life if you're missing it or just need to recharge a little bit or purify or get clarity, etc. throw in lavender or rose, or some people put holy basil. Really, there's all kinds of things that you can use. Just make sure it's compatible with your skin and your body. That's all, so you don't have any reactions. All right, so back to this card. I'm going to just read it one more time. So this one, it's stress that comes from having many things happening at once, successful multitasking, sudden events or changes. Okay, so to de-stress, we have one way with a nice little soak with any of those things that I mentioned or more that you find that works for you. But also when you take action, it kind of demystifies and takes the stress out of things because you're empowered when you take an action. Now, I did mention at the very beginning of this reading that an overwhelming theme kind of was giving, receiving, falling and rising. The right hand as the representation of giving, the masculine side, the left hand receiving, more representing the feminine side. The wands and swords and sticks, versus the cups and chalices, so to speak. And then talking about all of the seasons, standing in the center of circles. So these kind of remind me they're forming a circle around her. So she's in the center of that circle now. She's reaching up for one of the seasons. So we could have let me try to do this right. We could have like spring, summer, winter, fall. So just say she's reaching up for spring. That's what she's reaching up for. She's actually, ironically, pushing up with her left hand. It looks like she's pushing, but actually she's also receiving with that left hand. Now here she's making like an okay sign. I'm not looking at that as any like nefarious, one of those groups, virtual signaling stuff of negative qualities. I'm just looking at it. She is delicately pinching one of the little parts of the dandelion. So she's just gingerly, delicately holding on to it. So she's trying to do two things at once if you look at it. She's trying to either push that away or receive it, and yet she's holding on to this one. She doesn't want it to fly away, but very gingerly so, right? So she is multitasking. She's trying to do two things at once. So really, to feel more empowered, if she just let go and stop pinch that and just focused on the energy of this, that would yield better, results for whatever she's trying to do. And vice versa, if she just let that go and just focus on holding this one, all of her attention and focus then is just on this one thing, which can bring you more empowerment and probably see a more successful outcome. But no, she's kind of doing two things at once, so her energies are kind of split. But in this case, she does seem poised and relaxed and playful, so it doesn't seem to faze her because she's not putting a lot of weight on this decision of what she's doing. So that might be a little clue too, that success in dealing with a lot of things is trying to make it light. Don't make everything heavy. And but keep in mind, if you can just do one thing at a time, your results might be better. Now, I do know people who feel like they're in the flow when they are multitasking. So it's a matter of knowing how you work best and how you operate best for you. Okay, we're going to move along now. So now we're going to go to, we have a number 6. We had a number 6 in group 1 too, if you want to check that out, if that's a number that's calling to you today. So we have the 6 of chalices. So right away, chalices are cups, and they're sitting over here. We got 6 of them, and they're all blue, and she's in gold, and there's purple, mixed in between. So those colors might mean something for you today. Now, what's interesting about this card is clearly she's sitting along a river or canal bank, and she's looking into the water. Now, what she sees in the water is her with this gentleman. Now, I have to say, it's funny. This is probably her ideal gentleman, and he may even be 6 foot tall, all right? He actually morphs in as a representation of the cups because they're blue. So we got to really look at the timing, like I talked about. Like this one, she's like in the center of a ring. Is she reaching up for spring, summer, fall, winter? Where are we? What moment are we catching this scene? So some interpretations would be like, oh, look, she's so busy looking at the past or the future. She doesn't see she's got plenty of cups to fill right now, right next to her, right? But in this case, so yeah, okay, she could be in the past. She could be dreaming of the love that she had, and now it's all empty, and she can't even look back, at that time. And she could just be kind of, dreaming about that and maybe even lamenting it. Or if she's in the now, though, she's seeing what is really possible right before her, and she has these cups ready to go to keep filling them up and keep this energy going of an ongoing current relationship. Maybe even refreshing it and renewing it. She's brought her cups to bring some new life into the relationship, filling them up with that nice, presumed, hopefully beautiful, clear, spring-like water. Now, if she's looking to the future of what she wants, she's here with her cups are empty and she's like, hey, this is what I want. This is what I want to fill my life up with. And but she can't quite reach, she's not quite touching and reaching those cups. And she might be too distracted about the image and the illusion and the seductiveness of what this could be like, that she's not paying attention to the practical ways of going about it. So maybe she's too much dreaming and not enough action to try to bring this into her life. And I don't mean go out to a club and go grab a guy, that type of thing. I just mean preparing herself, like making sure she's all in check so that this perfect partner can come drifting or sailing into her life, so to speak, right? So there's a lot of ways to interpret this. See what, kind of rings true for you. And speaking of rings, I'm just reminded, and again, talking about the chalices and the feminine and the masculine, the chalices versus the swords and the wands, not versus, but the one side is the receiving of the cup and the chalice, and the other, the more, what do I want to say? Putting out there the wand and the sword energy, or also focusing with that sword or wand, whereas the cup is just kind of receiving everything. What I want to say is that when you hug somebody, or the two of them are embracing, they form a ring with their arms when they put them around each other. Just a nice little imagery to think about. Okay, so in this case, what does this mean to you? Okay, where are you at? Are you looking off, dreaming of the past, or you can't quite shake the past of a relationship that maybe didn't work out? Well, then really look at it like she's doing. Really look at it and honor it. Try to remember and feel the good parts of it. And then, you know what, just really look at it, have that one last look, feel maybe, bring your hands to your heart and just say, I honor the love that was in that relationship. And that love that was there goes on and is living on and on and on out into the universe. It never dies. Just like our spirit, our soul goes on forever and ever. We keep living. We just experience new things in different dimensions. I know that to be true. I've had to walk a couple of loved ones do the sacred walk as they depart this world. But they've just gone on into a next one, and I feel it. It's very palpable. They're very alive in the dying. I can tell you that 100%. Dealt with two totally different people, totally different beliefs, and they were all doing the same thing in the last hours of life, showing that they go on and that we're greeted from the other side. Whether you have a belief in a religion or spirituality or not at all or unsure, here to tell you we all go to the same beautiful place, and you're greeted and welcomed by loving beings. Sidestepping there, but going all over the place, but I feel it's necessary to bring up right now. Anyway, look at that relationship if it's gone now, and but just know that, yes, memories of it live. That's why we keep feeling it sometimes. They bubble up to the surface. But if they're bringing you sorrow, just really look at it and remember how much love was there. And even if it was just fleeting for a moment, know that that love was real, is palpable. And now it's okay to look at it honestly and wave it goodbye, kiss it goodbye, blow it a kiss, and let it move on from your life. Let it drift down the stream further so that you have room to receive in your cups that are open and waiting for new experiences and new love, okay? That's all for now on that one. Okay, now we're going to get to this next card, which is very interesting, beautiful card of Australian, Australian wildflower. I'll put the names of these in the description box below. But anyway, this one is called Emu Bush, and it's about partnership. And funny, we just spent a long time talking about partnership and what that could be, right? So anyway, this one is apparently a bush that emu like to, I think, eat. And we're going to read a little bit about it because I do not know anything about these. Okay, so let's look at this card, and I'm going to just try to keep the viewfinder on the card. Bear with me if I move around a bit as I try to read this book from off to the side. In the past, I've tried to focus in on the text itself, but then my camera goes in and out of focus, and it becomes really annoying. So I'm going to read this off camera and try to hold this as steady as I can. Bear with me. So emu bush, I'm just going to read, okay, partnership, and I'm just going to read a little excerpt, not the whole thing. Okay, emu bush speaks of partnerships, and this includes joint ventures in business as well as romantic commitments. The energy of the flower is very strongly aligned with entities working together, moving in the same direction to achieve positive outcomes. Look at the alliances you currently have, the partnerships you enjoy, and ensure that the dealings are fair and in balance. Hang on, my vision is also coming in and out. Emu bush does signal new partnerships and groups forming, as well as highlighting the possible benefits of mentorship. The challenge of emu bush is that of deceptions, sabotage, and misunderstandings within alliances. There's a particular focus on gossip and on the untruths being uncovered. As a healer, emu bush enables things to run smoothly. It opens the way for actions to occur without hindrance while supporting easy flowing communication. All right, well, this one I would just say, what do you want to focus on? I would not myself focus or even give 1 second to any gossips or negative things that might be brewing in alliances. Don't even worry about it. Just focus on what do you want in this partnership and relationship, and you show up giving that out. Again, the overall message of all of this reading today is giving and receiving, falling and rising. And I would say that, what you give out is what you're going to start to see in your world. And anything that seems to fall short of that will fall away if you keep your eye on the prize, so to speak, and keep doing you, keep doing what you know to be you, keep doing what you do that rises where it makes you feel empowered and rises in love and good intentions and things spreading out in the world. And that in turn will uplift the entire environment around you. If there's anything that seems adverse coming in your way, such as negativities of gossip and whatever, if you let that simply be grass beneath your feet and keep striding along as you know how to do you, all of that stuff will fall away. It will mean nothing to you. And the only thing is, it's not like you don't care about what's happening with those people and those energies, but it's just a full confidence of knowing that as you walk through and stride through in your own energies that you know to be true and good and ever rising into the highest and best and most harmonious version of you, then anybody else around you in your field, so to speak, your energetic field, can't help but rise as well. They might do so reluctantly. They might go away from you for quite a long time until they're ready to be in your energy field and rise up. But it will eventually happen, or they'll just kind of disappear out of your reality and your world. So it kind of doesn't matter. So anyway, that's all I want to say about that. So again, partnership. Again, what are you looking for? And there are times to have partnerships, and then there are times to walk alone, as we talked about in group number 2. There's absolutely times where you may just have to suck it up, buttercup, like I said, and move along and walk alone for a time until the right timing, for a partnership or relationship to be at the right timing, to be its most powerful, most meaningful, and, just work at the right time. All right, well, I am losing my voice. That means I need a drink, and it means it's time to wrap this up. So I wish all of you all the best. Oh, you know what? No, I don't. I keep doing this. I'm going to jump back to group 3. I forgot their extra bonus card. Okay, so group 3. Here we go. Children. Okay, almost forgot you, group 3, in your bonus. Your love life is being affected by children. All right, well, that's interesting, right? Where do you jump to right away? Be honest. When you hear this, your love life is being affected by children, and you're talking about love life and children, right? Did you go to a negative place or a happy place with it? Well, if you want to have children, you went to a happy place, right? Meaning you want children to come into your life. However, if you're in a different place and do not wish children for children, then you're probably looking at it like, oh no, how are these children going to wreck my love life, right? Well, let me just say the first thing coming to me is that we're talking about children of a different kind. We're talking about fur babies here. People call, their pets when they don't have children, or maybe they have had children already and they want to move on into a different phase of their life, and their kids have grown up and moved out, or whatever the case, they're not there. Sometimes people could not replace them, but then would get a pet, right, to have that company and love since the children are not physically there in their house. So this could be a message for you. That children, maybe you're meeting somebody now who has pets and you don't have any, or you have them too, and now you're, joining together all of your pets. Now, do those pets get along or do they not? That might affect your love life or the love in your life there in that partnership. Or, you might be deciding, should we get a pet, and then that will change how your life is. But does that mean it's a negative impact? No, it could mean your love grows even more because you're sharing even more love with another life, right? Or maybe, children are coming into your life, maybe through, new marriage, and each person is bringing other children in, or one-sided, one is and one is not. And I would just say that no matter what, when we see this card, it should only, not should, but, you know, if you just focus on how much love can be gained in a situation by having more little beating hearts around, and not the opposite, not even looking that there would be a negative or a drawback to it, how much the richer your life will be, right? And because where there is a heart, there's love. And where love is, God is. So keep that in mind. Okay, I think that's it for now, though. And I wish everybody, as always, tremendous peace and love. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.